All right, so I've got an update for the Bucket List 1.0 add-on that I'm making, and it's going to be tied in with a simulation zone. So we're just going to open up geometry nodes here and see what pops up. And all you got to do, click Add Sim, and it's going to just pop everything up for you. Now, the special properties that are in here, I know this is a little messy. I'm going to clean this up in the final version. Not too big of a deal right now. But certain things like scaling factors and things like that that are outputted here are cleaned up and identified on the add-on. Make it nice and simple. That way you don't have to trape through all the geometry nodes. So if you don't know how to go in there and figure all those things out, this just makes it so much easier. Now for the actual bucket list add-on itself, it stores every property for a camera, every property for every light, every type, and it stores location, rotation, and scale for every single object, including empties. So you can store all of that and iterate through. Now, all you gotta do is click Add Sim, and absolutely nothing will pop up, but it did add, and let me just get rid of this because I've been prototyping. If you don't have anything, it'll say no simulation object yet, so there's no errors, and there's some nice programming in there to prevent that. So if you just hit this button, all that good stuff pops back up. You get an empty and you get a plane. Your empty is going to be right here. And all you have to do is get in here and make a collection. So you're going to need to have a collection of objects. And we'll just make a few cubes here. I throw in little Suzanne. Doesn't matter. Whatever you want. Pull that out of there. Scale down a little more. I just apply the scale for all these. And I'm going to just add this to a collection. Doesn't matter what you call it. Just call it collection. And if you want, you can pin your workspace so you don't mess anything up. And I'm working on this. I got to fix the programming here. That's why I'm not releasing this add-on yet. It updates, but it doesn't update the collection necessarily with the objects. So I got to fix that. So here's these objects that I want to just hide because that's my collection. And what you want to do at this point is grab a timeline. Pull out a timeline because this is going to be simulation nodes. And if I hit play, it's going to automatically start spawning directly towards the empty. It's pretty cool. So we could add the empty in here, and then I could move the empty down here, and I'm adding a new collection point. And so I can kind of prototype in my scene and do some pretty cool things. Now from here on the add-on, you've got the age of the particles, so they will be deleted per frame. So just look at these like frames, and I might change this to like an integer value, but it is a float value right now. So if I put 25, they're going to delete much quicker and self-delete before they even get to the object. The lower you go down, something like 30 is pretty good. You can overwhelm it if you want and get a nice big blob of stuff. Then you've got a decay speed, which will kind of interrupt the pattern. It'll interrupt the noise pattern, if you will. It's kind of pushing this. And then we've got a count, so you can decrease the count. It's pretty self-explanatory. And you can crank that up. That's a nice integer value if you really want to get stuff going wild. You do have pick instance on for the instances, and we've got a velocity as well. You could turn the velocity down if you don't want this thing to get too crazy. Keep turning it down, until it's just at a nice little crawl. And I'll put this count back down to something like 4. Try to keep it even numbers. Seems to react better that way. And I'll just let these go for, say, 90 frames. And if you didn't notice it, The add-on is going to automatically put this to 5,000 frames, so you can kind of go through it and scrub. Well, you won't have to scrub necessarily, it'll just be going, but you hit shift left arrow, it'll start over. So shift left arrow will restart your simulation for you. Then you have the attraction, which is pretty cool. You can crank that up and really fire a ton of particles, whatever you have in your collection. And I got more work to do to this thing, but it's pretty neat so far. I'm going to add some emissions and other cool things to it. And the attraction, if you put it to 0, everything will just kind of go stagnant and hang out on itself. Now, if you go to a negative on the attraction, it will start kind of like blowing away from the empty. And that's pretty cool. There's quite a few things you can do with this. Like I said, you got the pick instance on. And so the pick instance will prevent you from necessarily spawning these inside of each other. And if you want to get these getting really jittery, almost like fireflies or something, and that'd be pretty neat with little emissions if you got the right objects inside of your collection. And then your empty is your either attraction or detraction object. And you have a probability, which will give you some nice randomization, maybe like a little digital noise or something. All kind of cool stuff you can do with that. And go ahead and turn our velocity back up. And if you turn the velocity up too much and turn the attraction to like a negative, you get a nice kind of blast, if you will. And if I turn the probability all the way back up and then kind of play around with the attraction level, you can kind of blast out of both sides. You can grab that empty object and kind of move that around. And anything that is going around at that velocity is going to attempt to orbit the empty, which can be pretty cool because you get a lot of effects with that. And then you can iterate through all those and have some fun. You can change the object. If I wanted to just make an icosphere my object, and I just cancel that empty and go with the icosphere. Bring my velocity down just a little bit there, just for the fun of it. It's getting kind of annoying. 0.01 works really nice on the attraction. So that way you don't have everything going too crazy. Like I said, you can jitter everything up with the decay speed and get, you know, not maybe endless, but quite a few different looks with this. But I'll be coming out with this add-on pretty soon. There's a lot of work to do. Like I said, it's probably going to take me a couple months to put this together and make it useful more than just lights and cameras and stuff. But if you have a light in the scene, and just ignore this light switch because that's not really even the big deal. Let me unpin, go here, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to clear out all my different stores, and I'm just going to add a new one. And I can change color, the power, the radius, the max bounces. I can turn this off. I can make it a sun instead and then save it and iterate back and forth. So the type, everything changes. And then for the camera, just throw a camera in here real quick. Take a look at that. I will store, and you can hit A for all. You can store everything. So if you were to move this object, move this, move this, move this, and then rotate it. Maybe rotate it like right there. You can see it. And then I hit A for all again and store. Now I've got everything in the scene moving, and then all the properties. So it's pretty cool. So I come in here and change the millimeter. Maybe go to orthographic. And we could do safe areas. We could turn on depth of field. Pick an object, which I'll actually just grab one. Then I can play around with the f-stop, blades, rotation, all that good stuff, and add that in. And now all of these properties will change as well. And so now if I iterate back and forth, you'll see all of these will change. And so it stores pretty much every single property that you could possibly need for the cameras, for the lights, for meshes. And that's it. 10 minutes was a little longer than I wanted, but leave a like, leave a subscribe, leave your thoughts in the comments below. Very important to me what everybody thinks, so that this add-on ends up being something that's actually, not just a good add-on, but intuitive and something you guys would actually use. So, yeah, leave a comment. See you guys in the next one.